How's it going, everybody? My name's Warner Fields with Fields of Profit. I'm a full-time seven-figure Amazon seller, and today I'm joined by my friend Jordan, who's also one of our students from the FBA roadmap. Glad to have you here today, Jordan. How's it going?
Going pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I just want to get a chance to chat with you. As you know, I started selling like 3.5 years ago, so I kind of forget a lot of things that beginners struggle with. So I think these kind of interviews are really valuable for those new sellers out there. So just to kind of introduce the people where you're at, what are your sales at right now, and kind of how long have you been at it?
How lucky for you to not have to deal with beginner struggles anymore. My sales right now are per month, like it's been growing every month, but I'd say this month is probably going to be around 40,000.
That's not bad at all. So how long have you been at it to get to 40K a month?
I started in January and started then, and it's grown every month. I think like the first month I did like a little less than 1,000. Then it went to like 4,000, 9,000, 20 something, 30 something, and should be at about 40 or so now.
Wow. Yeah, that's very impressive. What do you think has been kind of the biggest factor to that quick growth for you?
Just finding more products. I mean, it's not like an automatic kind of business. There is definitely work that goes into it. So, every month you're finding more products, and that just creates like a book of different products that you can reorder.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And then you gain spend confidence from that.
Yeah. So you're just building up that catalog. I like you're talking about like the confidence. Like I hear that a lot from brand new sellers. They're like, I think this is good. Like I'll get the DMs like, hey, can you check this ASIN for me? It's like 99 times out of 100. Like it's good. They're just kind of hesitant. So, for those of you guys at home, like you probably know what you're doing. Like those of you probably been watching YouTube videos for a couple hours now. You're on your YouTube binge. Just go for it. Go buy some of those products. Yeah. So to kind of like get into your backstory a little bit, like what kind of led you into the Amazon world? Like how'd you find out about it? What was like, oh, that seems interesting. I want to kind of jump into that.
Yeah. So like I've thought about this a couple of times, like over my Amazon journey. So it just happened like over Christmas break of 2021. I, just randomly watching YouTube, got served a Reezy retail arbitrage video. I think it was something like, I made $1,000 at Walmart in 2 hours. And like,
yeah, I think that video has like 2 million views. I've seen that video too. Like,
yeah, it's made the rounds. Yeah. So like I watched that, and then I was like, man, that's wild, So I probably watched, the rest of his catalog, and eventually just finally got the nerve, to go out and create a seller account, try to look at it. Realized pretty quickly that those retail arbitrage videos are pretty sensationalized.
Right.
There's a lot more work that goes into it. Like any of those guys that go in there already know what they're looking for. At least that's what I gathered out of it. Because I would go to the store, I'd scan for, an hour or two and not find anything even remotely sellable. Especially as a new seller, like you don't necessarily know about, ungating and all that. And you're just gated in so much stuff and just really new. And from there, I started listening to podcasts, hearing about, online arbitrage. From there, tactical arbitrage, which I bought for a month or two, which is kind of how it led me in, and I was like, man, how do I use tactical arbitrage? And then that's how, I got served your content.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah, that's where it started was, just a retail arbitrage video. Yeah. And now I don't do any retail arbitrage. It's all OA.
Cool. Yeah. So you're 100% OA?
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
I mean, if there's a store that I'm going to go to for my own personal reason, and I know that they carry a certain product that I would get, then I'll pick it up. But other than that, like I don't specifically go for retail arbitrage.
Yeah, it's a good strat. Like, pay off part of your groceries while you're out at the store. But, I like you're talking about like retail arbitrage. I've thought about this. Like, I think retail arbitrage is weirdly like somehow more advanced than OA in terms of like where your Amazon business needs to be at. Because those guys, like, they know what they're going for. Like, they're ungated in a bunch of the major brands and stuff like that. So, like, a lot of those new guys who go out there, like, they'll see the videos on TikTok because those are the ones that get tons and tons of views. And they'll scan. It's like, I can't sell any of this. What's going on here? So, yeah, I think RA is like a lot better if you have an older account and you like really know what you're going after. But yeah, I like that you kind of scaled into what was working for you and clearly it's paying off. Like you're at 40K a month, 6 months. Like that's crazy. I was definitely not there 6 months into my journey.
Thanks.
Yeah. So since you have had some of like, that early success, like you still working a day job? You have any plans there, anything like that?
So I'm not currently, no. Okay. I started in Christmas of 2021 and at that time I did have a day job. At roughly about like March or so, I realized I was like, I could see the proof of concept and I could see like that I was making money and it was at a good margin. Like I want to say early day was probably like around 30% ROI, maybe like a 15% margin, something like that. Okay. But it was only like $1,000. And so I realized that if I could spend more time on that, then I could make something a lot more out of it than just my hours at the job. So roughly around the end of March is when I went full time.
Awesome. So were you doing like 10K or so? Is that remembering correctly when you went full time?
Yeah, it was probably like around, I don't know, 10 or 12, something like that.
Yeah. Just making a leap leap
back
of
of the
faith
gap.
and
But yeah, something
yeah,
like that.
that's awesome. Yeah, just making the leap of faith and it's paying off, right? Cool. So what's been working for you so far? Like, you know, you mentioned tactical arbitrage, like all those different tools. Like, what's kind of been working for you? What strategies are you using right now?
So yeah, I did start off with tactical arbitrage, which I probably wouldn't really recommend to beginners. It's a very high learning curve, and which I still don't even, I still haven't even mastered that curve. I will probably implement it again at some point, just because right now it's getting a little bit more difficult to spend so much time finding leads because I'm also prepping all of my packages and sending them out. But what's been working for me is mainly using SellerAmp storefront stalking. That's been a pretty big game changer.
I'm repping the shirt today, so yeah.
Yeah, I need some swag like that. But yeah, that was mainly what's worked the most. I'm trying to implement some other strategies like through Keepa, finding products there. Also, trying to capitalize on seasonal stuff. I haven't delved too much into that, but just trying to keep my sights forward. How I can grow.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and in terms of seasonal stuff, like this is just my like personal philosophy. Like ignore me if you want. I tend to I don't chase like the decorations and stuff like that, like a lot of people do. Mostly just because like December 26th, no one's buying your inflatables anymore, right? But about like back to school type stuff, I'll go hard on that because it's just backpacks and shoes and school supplies. Like it's going to sell anyway. So I'll take advantage of the seasonality in terms of things that are always selling. They just really start selling way faster during certain periods. I mean, I know people are crushing with those like Christmas lights and the Halloween decorations, stuff like that. I just personally don't mess with it. A lot of the new sellers out there, I know they get intrigued again by those TikTok videos, all that kind of stuff. But a lot of times your best bet is going to be those evergreen products. And then once you kind of get the hold of that evergreen, like really scaling into kind of that seasonality, but not like, oh, it's only going to sell during this month. There's just a,
they just have those good pops during certain points of the year.
Yeah, cool. So you're just basically using entirely Keepa, SellerAmp, a little bit of manual sourcing for your sourcing right now?
Yeah, it's a very little bit of manual sourcing. I feel like that one's a bit more difficult unless you kind of are seasoned a little bit. You know what to look for. Brands that sort of stick out a little bit more than others. Right. So that's just a learning process. But yeah, trudging through it.
Yeah, I've been playing around with manual sourcing a lot lately, and it is it's way easier after you have some experience. I'm actually working on a module you have access to it, and the update coming up. Not really sure when that's coming out, but it's going to be like how to manually source like a pro, and I'll kind of break it down for me at least. Like you have those brands that you love, I have those brands that I love, and I've sold a lot in the past. So like when I'm manually sourcing, I'm looking through like a Walgreens or a Vitacost, and I'm just searching for that specific brand that I know is good. Because if I'm manually sourcing through thousands of items, like probably not going to find anything. But if I go into this X brand that I've sold 1,000 times so far this year, there's a crazy good coupon, then it's worth like manually clicking on all of it. But if it's just 1,000 things that are 20% off, like you're going to be there forever.
Yeah, 100% agree. I've done a little bit of that you mentioned.
Yeah, and there's a million different ways to source, right? Even if you're not even using tactical arbitrage right now and you're crushing the game. So a million different ways to do it.
Yeah, it makes me feel good to hear that because sometimes I feel like I'm not crushing it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't play the comparison game. Like
you can't. You definitely have to stay in your own lane.
Yeah. 6 months in with 40K is crazy. Like straight up, that's awesome. So definitely pat yourself on the back a little bit for that one. Yeah. So, for the new sellers who are watching this, who are, they're trying to get that, they're trying to get that growth. Maybe they've got the capital to have that quick growth like you had. What was something that kind of held you back in the beginning and how'd you get over it?
Well, it didn't hold me back from spending, but probably not being as proficient in reading Keepa data.
Sure. Yeah.
Like I can think back to, one of my first buys ever, which was like a baby mobile. And there were two, variations of it. And of course I bought the bad variation, the one that's like, less than 1% sales on, something that sells 1,000 times a month. So stuff like that. Also not going too deep. Like I don't remember exactly who said it, but I've heard, go inch deep and a mile wide, just basically get as many different products as you can to test out at, a lower depth, like, maybe 10 to 20 units or so. Test it out. That way, you're not losing as much money. It's not really as much risk. I mean, it sucks when you lose, but most of the time you should be able to break even. So, I would say that's kind of stuff that held me back at first. Also not having the spend confidence and looking at other people's, especially when you're on Instagram and you see everybody who's having, 50, 60, $100,000 months. And
it's a highlight reel, right?
Yeah. And, that's what you have to, like going back to the retail arbitrage thing about the videos, they're sensationalized. Like they're supposed to, people want to show off and do that kind of stuff, but you have to stay in your own lane and, focus on what you're doing, perfect your skills. Like if you go to the gym, like you're not going to be able to bench press 500 pounds on your first time doing it.
Right.
You got to build up to it. And so that's what it is. It's building up, still getting there.
Yeah. I see that all the time. Like, they're messaging me like, I bought my first product and I lost money on it. Like, Yeah, I mean, you just started. And yeah, I like how you're talking about going super wide, especially at the start. Like, a more seasoned seller, I'm going deep on stuff when I buy it because I'm super confident in my decisions. But as new sellers, like those of you guys watching this, you might be just starting out. Like, you don't have the confidence to buy 100 units of something right now. So spread yourself out wide, learn as many lessons as you can. And then by doing that, you're going to learn those lessons way faster. And then you're going to have the confidence way sooner. Just like Jordan, he went wide, figured that out, gained that confidence, and now he's scaling with it.
Yeah,
Cool.
and in that same breath too, once you have gained that confidence, you need to make sure before you go too deep on a product, which is something that I also did. One of my first products was like this cookie shot glass mold, and I'm sure anybody watching could look it up. But you could look at the price on it too, from and keep it. It went from like whenever I was getting it, I think Michael's had a sale for like $8 or maybe a little less, and they were selling for like 32 or 34, which was making a sweet profit. And it was a good rank, like I don't know, maybe top 15,000 or something like that. And I saw that data that was all the money that was coming in from that, and I went way too deep. I probably cleared out every Michael's store, doing curbside pickup within like at least 50 miles or so from my house.
That's funny.
So we ended up going too deep. Never really lost on it. Like I had to sell a few at break even, but yeah, just the amount of sellers, reading the graph, seeing that the sellers are creeping up, or if it looks like, a landslide, they're all just going up. That's just stuff to watch out, and just getting, more comfortable with Keepa, knowing all the ins and outs of it.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. You're going to make those mistakes. And something that I've been playing with the idea of, especially if you guys have capital at home and you're willing to risk a little bit of it, something I've been doing is buying a little bit deeper than I probably would have normally. And, you're going to make more break even or sales at loss like you did because you went deep. But because you went deeper, you caught all those sales as it was going down. All those sales are still really profitable. And if you had gone, you bought 10 units, you would have sold them all super profitably, but you probably sold way more units and made way more profit just because you went deeper and were okay with breaking even on the last couple that you sold.
Yeah, it's well said. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. So what's your goal for your Amazon business moving forward?
Long-term goal, I'd like to implement more wholesale accounts. It's something that I've just started, kind of digging into, especially with, I'm 6 months in now, and I realize how difficult it can be with getting cancellations.
Right.
And, there's someone else I heard saying like, it's a little bit better to have the ease of spendability, where you're not having to make multiple orders where different addresses, names, whatever, versus, at a higher ROI versus me being able to order 100 units of something with one click. And, maybe it's not as good a profit, maybe it's 15% ROI or something, but the fact that I didn't have to spend an hour, gaming the system, it's a good turn on. So that's why I'm looking more to do wholesale, probably looking to add a VA, like maybe in the next month or so.
Cool. Yeah.
It's getting more difficult to source. And since I don't have a prep center, like I'm doing everything now, by myself.
Yeah. I think especially since you're hitting 40K or so now, it's time to get at least one of those things help you. Like, like when you quit your job and freed up time, like, you're able to scale. Now you're about to start reaching another barrier. So whichever one you're spending more time doing, probably prep is probably going to be the easier one to outsource, especially since you can give it to like a sales tax free, not really spend that much more money to have them do your prep for you.
I've thought about that before, but I feel like I'd probably add a sourcing VA first, just to help make more money, because when the products come in, like they don't really just sit there. Like I check them in, like I have my sheet with all my deliveries, whatever I've got. If something broke or whatever, I send an email to get it replaced. But when that stuff comes in, like I tag it, bag it, all that kind of stuff, and get it ready. And once I have enough for a box, like it goes out. Like I don't ever send like a 10 box shipment or anything. Like it's maybe 2 or 3, and that could be $1,000 worth of profit.
So are you putting out a couple shipments a week like that then?
Yeah, I probably send a shipment of 2 or 3 boxes like every other day.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely one way to go about it. Like your products are going to get there way faster. Like you're going to be beating everyone else. Like you're going to be the guy making the profitable sales. If the item were to tank, like you're going to be the one who gets there first. So I like that strategy. That's definitely something to think about. If you do decide to switch to a prep center, they're not going to care as much like that. They're not going to be like, all right, we got to get Jordan's product out of here now.
Yeah.
They're quick, but they're not going to be like every other day we're like pumping products out.
Well, another one was I was looking at a prep center that a guy that I had talked to, we converse back and forth about stuff, and he put me on their prep center. I was like, wow, it's like $1 per item. And then you get to their list of, they got to bag it, they got to
all their fees.
I was like, man, like it's a lot to have to calculate all that stuff, and think about it for every different ASIN. So I think for now, I'm fine prepping it. I got a good system with it.
Cool. Yeah.
But definitely having someone to bring in, more things to buy would be great.
Yeah, that sounds like an awesome next step for you. Yeah. So beyond that, is there anything that's kind of holding you back right now? Like what's kind of the biggest thing? Is it order cancels? I know we talked about a couple of things.
Yeah, I would say not being able to source enough, because I have the money to spend. Like I've worked 9 to 5. Like I'm kind of old, I feel like, in the reseller
Yeah, if
community.
you're like 25, you're old in the
Yeah, you're ancient. No, but I'm 33, so it's even worse.
Yeah.
I'm like a dinosaur. But so like I've got capital built up to spend. It's really just finding those profitable products. And since I've been doing this for a few months now full time, it's not so hard to find products. It's just it's harder to find ones that I know are going to be profitable and aren't going to tank, because you can always find products where the the number of sellers has shot up maybe 3 times from what the 90-day average is. And so you have that and you're like, man, I found this lead, but I know if I buy it, like I can spend the money, but it's probably not going to be profitable.
Right.
So just being able to bring in more leads during the same time. But I would say that's probably the biggest holdback, and just having getting the systems in place, like maybe a professional email address and a website to reach out to wholesalers, things like that, distributors. So yeah, I mean, there's probably a lot to do. That's
there's a million different ways to grow, right? Yeah, I think a super logical next step for you, especially if your problem is just I got money, I don't know where to put it. And VA is that's kind of a no-brainer at this point for you.
Yeah, because I've been spending on lower ROI items. Usually, like I try to have 20 be the absolute minimum on my ROI. But if it's a good profit, like maybe $5 or $6 a unit, and that's only like 15% ROI or something like that, I'll still go for it, because otherwise the money's not doing me any good.
Right.
In my pocket.
Yeah. That's a great way to think. I'll do the same thing. Like when I've got all the good leads I've spent through, like it's all right, I've got this 20%, like it's not perfect, but I've got money that's growing at 0 if I don't spend it. So I like that.
Exactly.
Like, you might as well. Like you can be a snob about your ROI and stuff like that, but if your money's sitting in the bank, your average ROI is a lot lower if that money's growing at 0.
Sure.
Cool. Yeah. So this has been an awesome interview. Is there any kind of last minute advice you want to leave for the guy who's watching this? Maybe he's sold $1,000, maybe they're just getting started. What kind of advice do you have for that beginner?
This is not passive income. It is definitely work, and it's a super uphill battle from the beginning, unless you're in a leads list or something and you're getting fed. But even then, there's 300 other people that are getting fed the same stuff. You got to sharpen your skills. You got to keep sourcing. Like, it's not passive income, so you're gonna work for it. You'll build up those sourcing muscles, and that's the biggest thing, because I mean, everybody knows how to put tape and labels on boxes and all that stuff. It's sourcing's the name of the game, and you're gonna get cancellations, but those are fine at the beginning. Like probably half of the products that I used to source in my first 3 months, I can't anymore because I'm just blacklisted, I guess. So finding places that don't cancel, is a major key. Also, watching out for hitting those maxes. Like there's some websites that'll have dollar amount maxes. Like if you're trying to spend $500 every time, then you may want to try a different email address or a different alias. If that gets canceled, then you know that there's a limit on it. When your regular email or whatever that you're using, to maybe break up that $500 one into $500 purchases. But yeah, it's just, there's a lot of testing. There's not really a book out there on how to do it, because everything's kind of dynamic and changes. You just kind of roll with the punches and keep at it. Awesome. Yeah. Dropping some nuggets for the folks here at the end of the video. Yeah. Appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. If you guys want to go check out Jordan, you have an Instagram page, right? Yeah, it is ARB_ASINs. Awesome. We'll put that in the description. It'll be underneath with me right now as well. So go give him a follow. Definitely knows what he's doing. And if you want to access the guide that Jordan, hundreds of other guys are using to make a ton of money on Amazon arbitrage, the FBA roadmap, link for that's gonna be down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, subscribe, like, all that kind of stuff that helps me out as well. But I really appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you next time.